The next person up is also on the zonal level. They're from the Southeast Zonal Forum. And I want to introduce Rosemarie. They're doing some really interesting things with additional needs that I don't think any other zones are working on currently. So take it away, Rosemarie.
Thank you, Rosemarie Addict. And I'm the chairperson for the Southeast Zonal Forum's Additional Needs Task Force. What we've been doing during COVID. Number one thing that's happened is for those of us with disabilities, and that's blind, vision impaired, deaf, hearing impaired, and physically disabled, is that even though COVID is a terrible thing, we've gotten access to meetings, access we did not have before. And I'll give you a little bit about the deaf, and then I'm going to let Jocko talk a little bit about what's been going on for the blind. The first thing is that the deaf have actually started being seen and recognized especially in the Zoom meetings. There has been an increase of getting sign language interpreters for them. NA 24/7 is one, the Never Alone Deaf group is another, and several other groups do regularly get interpreters in so that they're able to have a choice of meetings. And one of the things we've been reaching out and helping people with is highlighting the interpreter, because when you have a big Zoom like this, that the interpreter could get lost, and making sure that interpreter is highlighted so that the deaf person can find and be able to follow with the sign language is very important. I'm going to let Jocko talk about blind, and then I'm going to finish up. Jocko?
I'm an addict named Jocko. Yes, and I am the team leader for the blind team of the Southeastern Zonal Forum Additional Needs Task Force. Some of the things that we have been doing, I've been doing it for some time, is during COVID, especially when COVID came out, people have been posting flyers and information, pictures of information, that they would post, information via a picture, and this would be the Zoom link, the Zoom ID and/or password, and most of the time, us blind folks, we use a screen reader, and most of the time, the screen reader doesn't read that information. So, the blind and visually impaired addicts that are out here were not getting this vital piece of information, especially during this time. So I would constantly remind people, or please ask people, to type out what is on the flyer or what piece of information is on that photo, so that every addict can receive the life-saving message of Narcotics Anonymous. And now, which is awesome now, both in my region and in my area, it's going very well. Now with the Additional Needs Task Force, since I have brought it up there and the whole task force is on board, they have been out in their regions and areas, have been reminding people to post about whatever their picture is, please write it out so the screen reader can read it for the blind and visually impaired person or addict. And we are having more blind and visually impaired people attend Zoom meetings, even wanting to be of service, which was very hard for us to reach out to try to find the blind and visually impaired addict. But now that people are writing out these pieces of information on social media, because that's one of the biggest platforms that we communicate and share different pieces of information. Now a lot of the blind and visually impaired addicts are wanting to be of service and are attending these Zoom meetings.
So when you say writing out, Jocko, do you mean describing the picture, or is there like a format, or is there a size of the font that's important?
Okay, for the blind, okay, for the blind, there is something that is on computers and phones. It's what is called a screen reader. So it will read typical text. So like if you were to post a picture, say on Facebook, and then in the description, you know, along with the picture, you typed out what information was on there, my screen reader will read that, but it will not read the picture. So the information, that's the most vital thing. Now, for, you know, there are different ways of describing whatever picture it is, saying, you know, there is a man standing here with a dog beside him. That's nice too, because that gives us an idea of what the picture looks like. But the most important thing is the information. The information that you are trying to share with the rest of the NA community. You know, if it's not typed out, part of the NA community is not being reached. And that's, you know, that
So
leads.
is there like a font size, or that doesn't matter necessarily, or
No,
like a universal
not for a
font?
screen reader. No, not
Okay,
for a screen reader, but for a visually impaired person, that will matter. Now, hopefully the visually impaired person will know how to zoom in their screen. But for instance, like in my area, in my region, you know, our websites are fully accessible. So that means if I go onto them, everything on there I can read. Well, my screen reader will read it. And some of the websites will have, I don't know if you've ever seen on a web page where it has like the little handicap symbol, like up in the top right somewhere.
no,
In,
I've never noticed it.
Okay, well, certain websites will have this, and you can add this to any web page. And this will allow accessibility features, which will allow zoom features. It will allow to change the color contrast. It does different things for like, so like if the person who's visually impaired has low vision and needs, you know, different assistance, this feature can help enable that website to be fully accessible. One other thing is, you know, especially in my area, is that we keep
Sorry.
our meeting list fully updated. So it's got all of the Zoom meetings, all of the Zoom information. It even has for the in-person meetings, all of that information, which is very valuable. And being able to writing out what is on the picture or the photo, the piece of information you are wanting to share, helps. It really helps for the blind or visually impaired addict to be independent, because there has been times in the very beginning where I've had people tell me, can you not just get somebody with eyesight to help you read this? Now, I live alone, so I don't have somebody readily available to read whatever is that I can't read. So making it fully accessible to every addict is been what we've been doing here in the Southeastern Zonal. It's really been working, and it's awesome to be able to see that, you know, I can go on pretty much anywhere and find the Zoom information, either tap on a link or copy the ID and put it into the Zoom app and be able to attend a meeting on Zoom.
Well, yeah, that is incredibly important, Jocko, and we absolutely appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
And just a couple of extra things here is that the Additional Needs Task Force, although part of the Southeast Zonal, we do have members from other zones. We are a collaboration. We've got people from Western, Northeastern, Southern, and we're all working together. And that's one of the reasons we've been able to get some of those messages out. Please type out the information. Do you need help with an interpreter? I put some information up here. That's my email. That is my landline. Anybody can have that landline. That's in NA. I also want to let you know that at 8 a.m. on Saturday, October 31st, we will be doing a 2-hour, the Worldwide Speaker Jam, Breaking Recovery Barriers. We've got speakers scheduled. It's not going to be a typical workshop. It's going to be more speakers than anything else, and people telling their experience about trying to recovery and the difficulties. And we are aiming to make this as international as possible. And that's where we're headed with this, is that not just Southeast Zone, not just the United States, but internationally getting this word out.
Well, this is incredibly important as well, Rosemarie, and I know you for years, and thank you so much for coming on here.